Hey Choppers, Logan here with another preview for you, this time for 30 Seconds to Live by Kitten Kaiju Games. It's for 1 to 2 players, ages 14 up, and it plays in about 25 minutes. And in it, you either play the solo mode, where you play the survivor, or in the 2-player mode, one player plays the survivor, while the other player plays the zombie, and if you're the survivor, you're trying to live. You don't have to defeat all the zombies, you just gotta make it out of the alley. If you're the zombie, you're trying to beat the survivor. So let's go ahead and get to the table. Take a look at it. So here we have the survivor side set up for 30 Seconds to Live. We've got our characters token here in a little standee, and we have our alley cards placed right here. And the purpose of the game is for the survivor to try to get out of the alley. They're going to start off at card number 1 and try to work their way to the street, which is after card number 10. So once they go off card number 10 to the street, they win. Of course, the zombie player is going to try to stop this in any way that they can, and we're going to look at their side afterwards. Okay, well, you've already seen my character standing there on card number 1, but let's go ahead and look at the character card real quick. So the character card is set up where his name is Lenny. He is a firearms instructor, and he starts out with 3 ability tokens. We do see right there, I had them on the card when I picked them up. They slid off. So you're able to use your ability tokens 1 per turn usually to do a special ability. Here you can see that I can make an extra firearms attack. So as long as I have a firearmed weapon, which I do down here, and we'll discuss equipment in a minute. And you see I've got 5 life, and as I lose health during the game, I will rotate the card to signify what life I'm at. When I get down to 2, if I lose another life, I just flip the card over to 1 right there. Now it has a number here in a magnifying glass. This is a search number. So I can spend action points, and this is during the game. You'll have 4 action points to start off with every turn. You use your action points to do certain things. Here you can see I can spend 2 search 2 rows in front of me worth of supplies and turn them off, or turn them over, and we'll get to that in a second. But also you can see I've got different action points for movement. I can spend an action point to move 1 row, so if I wanted to do that, I can go to the next row. Or I can do it to do 2 different attacks here that I have that are mine. So I can do head stomp, or I can do a knockdown. The head stomp is a range of 0, which means that it's going to be in my row wherever I'm at. That's your range there. Anything else goes out. So if I had like a range of 2, it would be, for me here, that would be count as 0 because it's the row I'm in, and then 1, 2. And then how much damage I do. So you can do the head stomp does 1 damage to a zombie. Also, the knockdown ability I have, it's a range of 0, so it's only in my spot. It does 0 damage, but it will give a zombie a knockdown token. And we'll explain those when we get over to the zombie side. The zombie player holds the knockdown tokens. So we're going to go ahead and explain the rest of this setup here for Lenny. Now during setup, I shuffled my supply deck here, and I put it off to the side right there, because we're going to be using a communal discard pile between my supply cards and my tactics cards. These cards in the middle are attack cards, and we'll get to attacks here in a minute. So at the beginning of the game, you go ahead and draw 2 supply cards for your character, and you want to make sure you have at least 1 firearm. If you draw all items, you go ahead and put them down, reshuffle, draw 2 cards, so you have at least 1 firearm, and you put it next to your character card in your equipment slots. So you have 3 weapon slots next to your character. You can see, since I started off, I drew 2 weapons. I drew a firearm and then also a brick. Now weapons and so certain items have durability just like your life. So when you use them, they go down. They also have ammo if it's a firearm. You can see here I start off with 4 bullets for my handgun. And it automatically equips. Anything that says equip automatically goes in one of your spots, and you can switch them out as you get new weapons and stuff like that. It tells you the range, like we were going over with my special attack. It's only 1 action point to do this attack here. And if it actually hits, it's going to do 3 damage. You can see that's only range 0, 1 there. I can also range 2 to 4 for 2 damage. But it also is the advanced rules here. We're not going to play with those. The advanced rules, this is going to make a noise, which would attract more zombies. We're not going to worry about that in the regular game. That's more advanced rules. So as I use my handgun, just like for life, I'm going to rotate it to show how many bullets go down at a time. Once I've drawn my 2 supply cards, I then put out supply cards at 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, and 10. And I also put another ability token on row number 7 right there, because I'll be able to collect that if I get to that row. I can pick it up and get be able to use my abilities more. I've got my 4 action tokens. These are show how many points I have left. Whenever I use an action point, I can just turn it over to show that I've used it, and I get them back at the beginning of the next turn. They don't carry over from turn to turn, so I can't accumulate them. You only have 4 per turn. I've got my tactics deck, and we draw 2 tactics cards. For us, tactics cards are just like with your abilities. They show you how many action points it takes to use it and what happens. Standing zombies in the next row are knocked down, so they would get a knockdown token put on them. And also, it tells you, can't be played if you have a broken ankle, if you're knocked down, or if there are any zombies in the current row. There's certain stuff you can't do if zombies are in your row, like moving provokes attack of opportunity, where the zombie player will get to attack you, and certain things like that. Now, attacks are handled a little differently than they are in most games. So first you check for your range and see if you are within range of whatever zombie you're in attack. And then you flip one of these attack cards. The survivor's attack cards have an axe on them, where the zombie's attack cards have like a clawed hand on them, which we'll show you when we get to the zombie player's side. So whenever you do your attack, you check your range and say which zombie you're going to attack, and then you'll flip one of these cards. And they have 3 different sections on them. Now, if you're standing up, you will go with this one. And a check mark means that you the attack is successful. If it had an X on it, it means it's not successful. And there's different ratings for that stuff. But so if you're standing, you do what's in the first one. If you're knocked down, though, you'll go this way in the second one. So that's from you're on the ground trying to do an attack. And it'll show you different things like that. It says so get safety. If you're attempting to knock a zombie down, it will tell you what the results of that is. Like, yes, it is successful. You do damage if your attack does damage, and the zombie gets a knockdown token. And then this would get discarded into a part. Or actually, these don't get discarded. I'm sorry. It's the tactics and the supply cards discarded. At the end of the turn, any attack cards that are flipped get reshuffled back into the attack deck, like so. Once the survivor player is all set up on his side of the board, then the zombie player can commence with their setup. Alright, here we are on the zombie player side. You can see that we are on the opposite side of the alley row here, labeled from 1 to 10. You can see we've got the survivor standee over there, and we've got everything set up for the zombies on this side. To start off with, the zombie player gets 4 action tokens, just like the players, only their colors are inversed because they're the zombie player. They also take the 4 knockdown tokens here, because they'll be putting them on whoever's knocked down, either the player or the zombies. The zombie player shuffles up the zombie deck and lays 3 face-down zombies in row 1, and then turns 2 face-up zombies in row 6 and 2 face-up zombies in row 8. And zombie cards are laid out just like the player's card, with their attacks and their health at the top. Now, zombie player will be able to summon zombies during their turn, and the number at the top shows where they are placed and how many action points it costs. Like if this base crawler was in the player's hand, he could pay 1 action point to bring it into row 9, or can pay 2 action points to bring it into row 7. And zombies are allowed to move on the turn they come in, but they can't attack on the turn that they come into play. After them placing the zombies, they'll place their deck, leaving room for discards. They will shuffle up their attack deck, which is just like the player's attack deck, showing the 3 different options from where the zombie is: standing up, knockdown, or trying to do a knockdown or a grab, depending on what kind of zombie it is. And they will also shuffle up the zombies' tactics deck. Then they will draw 2 zombie cards and 1 tactics card to make up their starting hand, just like the player did with their tactics cards. Now, these zombie cards in row 1 here are face down, and they will stay face down and will not flip face up until the survivor reaches card 4. And that's why there's the little triangle with the exclamation mark in it, to signify as soon as the survivor reaches there, those 3 zombies will flip face up like they're rising from the floor. Now that the zombie player is all set up, play begins with the survivor. Now we switch the angle of the table so that you can get a more straight on view. We got the survivor over here and the zombie over here. Now the game is called 30 seconds to live because that's all you have. On the survivor's player's turn, the zombie player will be timing them. 30 seconds. When the 30 seconds ends, if the survivor player is in the middle of doing an action, they can finish the action. But if they haven't taken all their actions, they're out of luck. Now the same thing is on the zombie player's turn. The survivor player will time the zombie player for 30 seconds, and the same rules apply for them. Now the rule book says for the first time playing, don't run timers because you're getting used to the game mechanics and the rules and how it plays. But on the second and third playthrough, they say to use a 45-second timer instead of 30 seconds, just so you get used to being timed. But then further plays use 30-second timers. So at the beginning of the survivor player's turn, they will draw one tactic card from the tactic deck and add it to their hand. So if I did that now, I would have 3 tactic cards in my hand to do stuff with. But the ones that are currently in my hand, I don't really need to use them right now. So I'm going to go ahead and spend an action point to draw another tactic card. That's one of the things you can do in the game to draw additional tactic cards, is to spend 1 action point per tactic card. You can also spend an action point to stand up if you are knocked down. Now if you're in a row with a zombie in the row, you have to spend 2 action points in order to stand up. And the various costs and everything with that. So I want to actually search, because I've got a bunch of supply cards that are turned down here. The searching costs 1 action point, and Lenny's search range is 2, so it's the row he's in and 2 after that. So actually I'm going to use 1 of my action points to move 1, and then I'll use another action point for my search. So it's any supplies that are in my row and 2 rows afterwards, since Lenny's search is 2. So I will get to flip this one for the row I'm in, and then it would be any that are here. And I could see that I have another brick is in this row, and that there is another handgun over here in row 4. And it costs an action point to pick up any supplies in the row you're in. So let's go ahead and get some action going in this game. So I'm going to spend 1 more action point to move 1 more row there. And so I've got 1 last action point. I'm going to use it to shoot my shotgun. Sorry, not my shotgun, my handgun. Now you can see it costs 1 action point to shoot it at range 0-1, or it costs 1 action point to shoot at range 2-4. Well, I can see I've got these zombies coming up here in row 6 that I'm about to reach. So that would be range 1, 2, 3. And let's go ahead and go for the runner right here. He's got 4 life. So I will go ahead. It will deal 2 damage, but I have to flip my attack card. So that's only the base right there. Say okay, and I will go ahead and flip an attack card. I'm standing up, so I go over the first one here, and my attack is successful. So it will deal 2 damage to the base runner there. Now, if the zombie player had any kind of maneuver cards, tactic cards that could make me miss, they could play them in response to try to take less damage. But let's just say the zombie player doesn't. So the zombie here, which normally has 4 life, will rotate to show that it only has 2 life left now. Now that I've successfully made that attack, I will rotate my handgun to show that I only have 3 bullets left and put it back over there in my area. I spent all 4 of my action points, so my attack card gets shuffled back to the attack deck, and my turn is over and passes to the zombie player. On the zombie player's turn, they will do the same thing the survivor is doing, when paying their action points to move, but they will also be trying to attack the survivor, because they're trying to stop him from leaving the alley and getting to the street. If the zombies do stop the survivor, then the zombie players win. If the survivor is able to get off the 10th card onto the street, the survivor player wins 30 seconds to live. 30 Seconds to Live is a fast-paced, crazy zombie chase game, so you should check it out on Kickstarter on September 29th. I'm Logan for Logan Chops Previews. We'll see you next time. Happy gaming.